How's it going, guys? Salty Pogue here. I've recently been introduced to Arma Reforger, and to say I've been addicted is an understatement. I've heard the same perpetuating question since the day I started and figured I'd take this opportunity to try my hand in the Arma content creation scene. So let's talk about why of all the Kalashnikov platforms, Bohemia chose the 74 and its derivatives. Quick surface level history will tell you it's simply historically accurate. But we want to understand the method to the madness as to why the Soviet Union developed it and put it into service, as well as clear up any recited fallacies surrounding it passed down from FUD-ass COD historians. So to understand how we got here, we need to understand how it came to be in the first place. If I touch on something that piques your guys' interest, please let me know in the comments below. Other than that, here's a quick history lesson. In 1941, during the Battle of Bryansk, then 22-year-old Mikhail Kalashnikov would be injured and hospitalized until April of 1942. The prior statement is important because I want to address the first fallacy surrounding the AK's development, because this is one of my biggest pet peeves, the idea that the Kalashnikov ripped off the STG-44. We've all heard the story, somebody's grandpappy who may not have necessarily served in World War II, but saw a really cool World War II documentary, so that's kind of the same thing, right? Anyway, they saw the STG-44, had the thought there's wood on that automatic rifle, which can only mean the AK-47 is a direct rip-off of that gun. During Kalashnikov's recovery, he felt inspired by the German superior firepower capabilities. Hence my Ghost to Tabor MP40 video starting off with product of German engineering that turned the tides of war. The ability to put out that many rounds that fast by a single individual that wasn't a giant bulky machine gun that had to be manned by 3 people. The ways war has changed by this development was a harbinger of a new generation of warfare. I know some of you guys are typing in the comments, hey dumbass, what about the Thompson used by US forces in both the European and Pacific theaters during World War II? You know what? You're right. That one's on me. Allow me to clarify. In addition to prior statements, the MP40 was the first to demonstrate superior rate of fire, accuracy, consistency, reliability, and by far soldier-friendly simplicity. Oh, that's an interesting topic all on its own. If you guys are interested in why the Thompson was a media icon rather than a historical icon, let me know in the comments below. So, starting from the ground up, while in his recovery period, Kalashnikov perpetuated ideas surrounding the concept of a Soviet-developed SMG to rival the German MP40. Being keyed in on a secret that the military was once again looking for a new standard rifle for the Soviets, Kalashnikov utilized this opportunity to rub elbows with some of the Soviets' top weapon manufacturers. One in particular being Alexei Sudayev. More an apprenticeship, Kalashnikov learned and gained valuable experience working under Sudayev before presenting the AS-44 chambered in the experimental 7.62x4.1 in 1944. Though you may not be personally familiar with the name Sudayev, I can guarantee you a lot of you first-person gamers out there are very well familiar with concepts such as a PPS, PPSH, and the Ducks from other pop culture media games. The AS-44, though short-lived, was adopted by the Soviets for further research and development to perfect the rifle for fielding. The project was ultimately discontinued in 1946 as Sudayev died of an upset tummy. So, what does that mean? Effectively, once again, the Soviets were in need of a new rifle and set up a new weapon exhibition to choose the next standard rifle for their troops. Kalashnikov, seeing this golden opportunity present itself in front of him, wastes absolutely no time. He gets straight to work with foundations such as the PPS and AS variants to build from. Kalashnikov cannibalized parts of Sudayev's platforms and put his own unique twist on them, effectively creating new weapon systems. In addition to his own individual research and development from captured MP40s from Germans during World War II, including features such as loose tolerance builds to help avoid jams from debris, sight apertures for gauging distance, and even a revolutionary new Zero system. Mikhail Kalashnikov would submit a rifle that would change the world forever. In 1947, the Soviet Army found its clear winner, the Avtomat Kalashnikov 47, otherwise known as the Automatic Kalashnikov 47, with 47 denoting the year it was developed. Chamber and new 7.62x3.9, dubbed the M43, It was heavily revered as being the perfect rifle for the soldier in the field. While most manufacturers focus on superficial crap like, is it cost effective, is it pretty enough, Kalashnikov developed a rifle with enough balls behind it to satiate the only question people really wanted to know. Does it work? Now, we've all heard at least once how durable the AK is, how it can function in any environment under most reasonable conditions. This is attributed to its loose tolerance design, allowing debris to fall through without incident and keep the weapon functioning. The reputation behind the Kalashnikov did not come to it by happenstance. Every inch is methodically calculated. From the heat-resistant, weather-treated wood furniture down to the minute details such as the 45-degree angle cut on the barrel to control gas expulsion to mitigate recoil. The overall method to the madness behind the AK-47 was clear. Make your weapon one less thing you need to worry about functioning in the field. Perfecting a rifle, the AKM was developed in 1959, with the M standing for modernized. The moniker AKM would become popularized in movies and media as original AK-47s became obsolete, fading out of circulation, now being deemed collector's items. Now let's fast forward this few years. USSR is both funding and arming neighboring countries to establish the spread of communism. One of these countries happens to be a small coastal country on the South China Sea. Some of you might have heard of it. Vietnam ring any bells? Oh, god damn it. Yes, that Vietnam. Cool, so we're in Vietnam now from World War II. North Vietnamese army have AKs, so what? So, now the Americans arrive on scene with an all-new space-age toy as described by NVA generals to their Soviet sugar daddies. Naturally, the Americans have a new toy, the Soviets want it. A few captured M16s later, Soviet research and development made a few discoveries. Aside from the obvious upgrades from the M14, one peculiar discovery was the smaller cartridge. Originally, the 7.62x5.1 NATO chambered for the M14, now the US Army is using the M193 5.56x4.5. Through ballistic testing, they realized whereas traditional 30 caliber rounds are meant to crumple and tumble to cause as much terminal ballistic damage as possible and ideally kill with a decently aimed shot, the M193 was designed for a different purpose. Instead of outright killing its target, it's designed to shed its copper jacket upon impact, fragmentating inside the wound cavity, causing multiple sub-wound cavities while the lead core continues to make a clean pass-through. But what is the purpose of just hurting someone actively trying to, fucking kill you? The answer to that may be a little darker than you're ready for. But hey, here we go. The simple answer is it's a psychological game. Take into consideration the setting of this era. Vietnam still being a third world country, obviously not the best healthcare in the 1960s. Take a rice farmer who's never even heard the concept of penicillin. Dude gets told here's a few bucks and some AK, spread the word of communism for us. And suddenly US Army comes out of nowhere, mollywops your village is absolute shit, while most of the military-aged males in the fight are dead, a good number are just wounded. But as you drag your wounded back to their families covered in their own blood and shit, without proper medical, your wounded will start dying off one by one in front of their friends and family as the messages soar showing civilians the consequences of the US for spreading communism in an attempt to dissuade the civilian public from adopting communism. So I really want to add some perspective to this, really give you guys an understanding of the mindset behind developing this new cartridge. All too often I hear this misunderstanding that the military is just a bunch of dudes taking orders. Everyone around them just so happens to be another random dude and we're all just happen to be in the same unit by coincidence. We're just waiting where to go and we'll just figure it out when we get there, right? Fact of the matter, it couldn't be further from the truth. These are going to be people that you are going to be training with for months, if not years at a time. Not to mention, these aren't your shitty coworkers you meet at McDonald's that you couldn't give any less of a flying fuck about. You will bond with these people over the course of months to years. You will embrace the suck with them, have a brotherhood most will never understand, ones you'll laugh and cry with, people whose families you'd have met, parents that raised them, their children, the only legacy they'd have to leave behind. Whoever's face you just thought of right now, I want you to imagine that face in the chaos of conflict, begging for you to help them, calling you by your name, tears in their eyes. Imagine what that's gonna do to you psychologically. You know they're pretty much dead as it is. There's not much you can do. Because in the real world, firefights aren't 5-minute events. No. You could be pinned down for hours. The person on the other end of that gun wants you to be a hero, wants you to run out, try to save him. But you know what will happen the moment you leave your cover. Instead, maybe you can drown it out with the sound of the suppressive fire snapping like a whip above your head. Maybe you fire a few blind shots just in hopes of initiating some tinnitus. Maybe it'll last long enough for the screaming to stop. Mortifying as that is, how do you get that approved by the Geneva Convention with that intent? Well, it's simple really. When you dress up the words a little bit fancier and refer to it as a more humane way to neutralize threats while minimizing lethality, well, a bunch of dumbass politicians don't know any better. So let's take a look into the method to the madness and see what old Uncle Sam had intended usages for this cartridge. For all intents and purposes, let's say we're engaging a squad-size element with a standard composition. Get a good shot and injure a rifleman. Now because he's injured, he needs a medic. Now the medic needs to address that issue because now time is of the essence. Rule of thumb in combat medicine is a golden hour. Once a casualty receives an injury, they have roughly about an hour before their condition plummets. Medic can only do so much given finite resources. What they need now is a medivac to get him to a higher level of care. Now, pulling a dedicated radio operator out of fight, this individual needs to call up a 9-line for a proper medivac. Can you see a difference? By injuring one, you've taken 3 out of the fight, now underpowering them as a whole and forcing them to allocate more time and resources elsewhere. Furthermore, injuring soldiers with crippling, life-changing injuries, there's only few entry and exit points to transport troops from. So who do you think those new shiny bright-eyed faces are seeing on their way in as they're coming out? However, it doesn't just stop there. Let's talk about the effect of it has at home. Naturally, the civilian populace has absolutely zero concept of warfare or what the reality is until you actually put the reality in front of them. Because frankly, there's a difference in someone's parents or someone's wife receiving their loved ones in a box and sending them home with life-altering injuries. Wheelchair bound, shitting in a bag, absolutely zero quality of life, can't even do things on their own anymore, just to find out that their own government just abandons them. That's right, American VA, you're not special, other countries do it too.
Meanwhile.
So, now the Soviets have understood the method to the madness and gained this new insight, and with the Cold War cresting the horizon, they waste no time developing a response to the ideological adversary in preparation for all-out ground war should it come to it. With the tit-for-tat approach utilizing the 5.56x4.5 as a foundation, Soviets developed the 5.45x3.9 by repurposing standard 7.62x3.9 brass to accommodate the smaller and lighter 5.45 projectile dubbed the 7N6. This new cartridge, fundamentally similar to the M193, would be loaded into a modified Kalashnikov platform in 1974, named the AK-74. Considered an upgrade to its predecessor, the AKM, Kalashnikov's original vision, it still remains fundamentally true. Which brings us into the fictional parallel universe of Arma Reforger in this Cold War gone hot scenario. Roughly dated in the late 1980s, it not only explains the presence of the AK-74, but its derivatives such as the more compact AK-74U meant for paratroopers and armor, for mobility and ease of access with its shorter barrel and collapsible stock, as well as the RPK, which is meant to be a crew-served weapon for suppressive fire by adding weight to places such as wood furniture, longer barrel for accuracy, and sustained fire and bipod for stability. This as well ensures logistics is simplified. Instead of handing out multiple kinds of ammo to a fire team, this makes sure the entire squad only needs one kind of ammo no matter what, which is why all the 74 mags are interchangeable amongst all 74 platforms. So, how does this development impact Arma Reforger as a whole? To its absolute core, Arma has always been about trying to immerse the players in tactical realism. While downing shots are just as prevalent as kill shots, take what you learned about the 545 and 556. See if you can't draw the hero out of your opponent by maiming their buddy in front of them. Along with that, this gives a little more validity to medics in Arma. If everything was a kill shot, then medics would just be purely on body gathering duty. This very small attention to detail actually breathes a lot of potential and life into this game, not only as a first-person shooter, but as an entire genre as a whole. So before wrapping this video up, final thought for discussion down in the comments below. Do you still think Kalashnikov ripped off the STG-44, or do you think Kalashnikov perfected the AS-44 as an homage to his mentor? And if you still believe it's a ripoff, comment down below your favorite flavor of lead paint chips.